A very good morning to everyone. So I have got few requests from your class that kindly revise unit number 4 as it is a part of our syllabus of mid semester 2. So today we are going to start with the revision of unit number 4. We will do the revision of unit number 2 later on, right? So let's revise unit number 4 today. Okay, so how many of you have gone through the slides or PPT of unit number 4? First of all, how many of you have gone through the slides or PPT of unit number 4? That is relational query model, or we can say relational database design. How many of you really went or studied or gone through the PPT of unit number 4? Give me the answer in the chats. Yes, students. How many of you have gone through it? Okay, Parth has learned till axioms. Okay, then Parthiv and Yash has gone through. Okay, so out of a class of 70, only 4 students have started learning about or started learning the syllabus of Mid 2. Yeah, that is okay if you learned it few days back. That is purely okay. I'm just taking a concern about how many of you really gone through the PPT of unit number 4. Fine, so let's start with the revision of unit number 4. So let me just present my screen. Right, so unit number 4 is all about describing a database or creating a fruitful, a proper and a consistent database, right? And for that we require some of the topics like functional dependencies, closure of FD, closure of attributes, then decomposition, what are the anomalies of the database, and normalization or normal forms. So we'll quickly go through all the topics or the topics that we can cover in the today's lecture, right? Let me just remind you that again today from 10:30 to 11:30 you will be having digital fundamentals lecture, right, from Nirav Tolia sir. So he will be providing you the link of the meet, Google Meet, in the WhatsApp group around 10:20. So you will be all be joining that session from 10:30. So we are having only one lecture as of now. So we'll try to cover as much as possible in this particular lecture. Right, so talking about functional dependency. So what is functional dependency? Let's say some of the values of the attributes of a table is dependent on some other attribute or a set of attributes. Then we can say that those attributes are functionally dependent on a given attribute or a set of attributes. It means that, let us say, if I am having enrollment number, name, semester, age and mobile number, so I can say that enrollment number determines name, semester, mobile number and age. It means that if I have the enrollment number of a student, I can determine all the details of the student, right? So we can say all the details of a student is functionally dependent on enrollment number, is functionally dependent on enrollment number. Or in other words, we can say that enrollment number functionally determines name, age, mobile number and semester. So this is what the main concept of functional dependency is. So you can take this example, and it is denoted by arrow. On the left hand side we will have the determinant, and on the right hand side of the arrow we will have all the dependents. So on the left hand side we can have enrollment number, and on the right hand side we will have name, semester, age and mobile. So clear with the concept of functional dependency, everyone? Is the concept of functional dependency clear, or any doubts? Right, so moving on, next we are having types. No need to refer types right now, okay, because it is full functional dependency, partial functional dependency, trivial, non-trivial and transitive. Now what is full functional dependency? Says that on the arrow, that arrow is used for determining the dependency, right? So on the arrow it is saying that on the left hand side and on the right hand side there should be different values. There cannot be any column values or any columns or attributes on the both the sides of arrow. That is why it is known as full functional dependency. So you can say here enrollment, name and semester determines result. And if I write down enrollment, name and semester determines semester, then it becomes partial functional dependency. That means you have a few common column or attribute on both the sides of the arrow. That is partial. And partial is also known as trivial dependency, and full functional dependency is also known as non-trivial functional dependency. And transitive means A to B, B to C, then A to C. So this is what transitive functional dependency is. Then we have the Armstrong axioms. That means we are having some of the rules that we can use to generate functional dependencies from a given set of functional dependencies, right? So these are the rules, like reflexivity A to B, augmentation A to B, then AC to BC, you add a common column to both the sides of arrow, transitivity A to B, B to C, A to C, pseudo transitivity A to B and BD to C. So if A to B is there, I can say that from BD to C we can replace B by A, so it will be AD to C. Then self-determination A to A, decomposition A to B C is there, then we write down A to B and A to C. Union A to B and A to C is there, so we combine A to B C. Then composition we have A to B, C to D, so we will combine the left all the attributes on the left hand side and all the attributes on the right hand side in a one group. So A to B, C to D, so AC to BD. So these are the axioms rule. Is there any doubt in any of the axioms rules? Armstrong axioms. Is there anyone? Any doubt in Armstrong axioms? Anyone? Composition means path. let us say you are having two different functional dependencies, right? So let us say you are having A to B and C to D. So composition says that you can combine all the determinants and you can combine all the dependents. That is what composition says. So here you can see that A and C are the determinants and B and D are the dependents. So we have combined all the determinants on the left hand side of the arrow and we have combined all the dependents on the right hand side of the arrow. So AC to BD. That is what composition means. Right. Any more doubts? Anyone in this Armstrong's axioms or inference rules? Okay. So based on this, you are having a particular type of question that you will be given some set of functional dependencies and now you need to create or generate some different set of functional dependencies from the given set of functional dependencies using those rules, and that is known as F plus, closure of functional dependency. So what are the different functional dependencies that you can create from here? Just tell me. Write down the answer very quickly in the chats. So the different functional dependencies that you can create from this particular set of functional dependencies: A to B, B to H. We are using transitivity rule to create A to H. CG to H, CG to I. We are using union rule for CG to HI. A to C, CG to I. So we are creating A to AG to I using pseudo transitivity. A to C, then I am using augmentation rule, and AG to CG. Already I have AG to CG and I have CG to I. So AG to I indirectly, and there can be many more functional dependencies that you can create from here. So this is what we can call it as F plus. So clear how to create functional dependencies, or any doubts? Is it clear or any doubts? Yes students, is that clear or any doubts? Right, so this is the second example of the same one. Then we have a closure of attribute. Closure of attribute means the attribute which can determine all the other attributes, that is known as closure of attribute, right? So you are having this particular example where relation A, B, C, D, E, F, G is given. A to BC, BC to D, D to F, CG to CF to G is given, and you need to find out the closure of attribute A. So that means you need to find out all the attributes that are dependent on A, or in other words we can say all the attributes that can be determined by A can be the closure of A. So you can say A can determine itself, so it will be A. Then we have A to BC, so A can determine ABC. Then we have BC to DE, because A to BC is there, so we can say A to DE also, so it will be ABCDE. Then we have D to F, because A is determining D, we can say A is also determining F, so ABCDEF. And because it is determining C and F both, we can say that it is also determining G, so ABCDEFG. So we can say that the closure of A plus, or we can say the number of attributes that A can determine are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So this is what closure of attribute is. Clear? clear with this, guys? Or any doubts? Is it clear, guys? Yes or no? Is it clear? Yes, students, is that clear? Okay, then give me the answer of this. Find the closure of BC together. I'm talking about B and C together. Not alone, but B and C together. Give me the answer of this. B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, let's see. BC can self-determine itself. Then BC to D, so we can have B, C, D, E. Then D to F, so B, C, D, E, F. And C and F both are there, so B, C, D, E, F, G. But it won't be A because BC cannot determine A. Give me the answer of this. Be quick to answer. D plus. What will be the answer of D plus? So the answer of the D will be D and F, because even though F is determining G, but it requires C, and D is not determining C, so we cannot have CF to G in that. Right, that's great. So I hope it is clear now. So let's move on to the next. Then comes extraneous attributes. What is extraneous attribute? That means in a functional dependency, if one single attribute can determine the other attribute, then we do not require any other attribute along with that particular attribute to determine the other attribute. You can see here A, B to C and A to C is already given. So we already know that A can alone determine C. So we do not require B in this particular functional dependency. So we can say that B is extraneous. We can say that B is extraneous or B is unwanted. Right? So this is what extraneous attribute means. Canonical cover means we need to try out to remove all the extraneous attribute from a given set of functional dependencies and get the final functional dependencies. You can refer to this particular example. You are having x to yz, y to z, x to y, xy to z. So we need to find out canonical cover. We need to try to remove as many extraneous attributes from the given set of functional dependencies. So we have x to yz and x to y. So we can say that it will be x to yz. Right? Now x to yz, y to z and xy to z is already available. So we are removing x to y right now. So in xy to z, we can say that x is extraneous. Why? Because y to z is already given. So we can remove x from y to z. So now we have x to yz and y to z available with us. Now in x to yz again, we can say that z is extraneous because already x to y is already given to us. So we can remove z from it. So we can have ultimately only two functional dependencies, x to y and y to z. So this is what the canonical cover is. We need to try to remove all the extra or unwanted attributes from the functional dependencies. Clear with this, guys? Is that clear? Is this clear, guys? See, Parth, there is not a requirement of an example. See, this is what the example is. As already said, A B to C is there, and A to C is there. Now find the canonical cover. So you already know that A to C is given, and B is not required in this particular functional dependency because A to C is already there. So we can remove this B and we can remove this complete functional dependency, and your canonical cover will be only A to C. Your canonical cover will be only A to C. That's it. This is what canonical cover is. You try to remove all the extra or unwanted attributes from the functional dependencies. Now clear? Right. Then moving on next, we need to know how to find out the candidate key, right? So how to find out a candidate key? Let's see what is a candidate key first of all. Give me the answer. What do you mean by candidate key? A candidate key is something that can determine or on which all the other attributes are totally dependent, right? So what is candidate key? Already we know that it acts as a attribute which can determine all other attributes. So here in this particular chapter, we have to find out a candidate key from the given functional dependencies. So we need to find out a attribute or a set of attribute which can determine all other attributes. Which can determine all other attributes. Right? So let's say for an example here, if I say that AB is my candidate key in this example, then AB together can identify or should determine all the other attributes, that is C, D, E, F, G, H, I, or all the other attributes. That means no attribute can be skipped. A candidate key should determine all other attributes of a table. It should not skip any attribute. Clear with the concept, everyone? First of all, is the concept clear? What is candidate key? A candidate key determines all the attributes of a given set of attributes. Clear, guys? Okay, so let's see the example now. So this is what you are given: A B to C, A to D E, B to F, F to CH. So what you will do? You will first create one type of diagram depending on the functional dependencies. So A B to C is there. So we can say that A B determines C. Then we have A to D E. So we can say that A also determines D and E. Then we have B to F. So we can say that B is determining F. And last one is F to GH. So let's say F is determining GH. Now we need to find out all the attributes which do not have incoming edge. So which are the attributes which do not have incoming edge? That is A, B together, or A and B. So now we need to find out that if I take A and B together, then can A and B together identify or determine all other attributes? So we need to find out the closure of AB together, the closure of AB together. And if the closure of AB together is equals to all the attributes of a table, then we can say AB is a candidate key. So let's find out the closure of AB. So AB plus, or the closure of AB is, AB can determine C, AB, and A can determine DE. So still it can determine C, D, E. B can determine F. So C, D, E, F, and F can determine G, H. So C, D, E, F, G. So yes, we came to know that A, B together can determine all the attributes of a relation, right? So thus we can say AB is a candidate key, right? So just go through the example once and tell me if you have any doubts in this. If all attributes have an incoming edge, then we can say that there is no candidate key in a relation. Right, Anand? Okay. Yes. Any more doubts in the example? Any more doubts? Anyone in the example? Yes or no? Any more doubts? Anyone? Any more doubts? Anyone? Okay. So let's continue. So this is the second example where you can see that there is only one attribute which is not having any incoming edge. So if we find out the closure of C, then we can say the closure of C is only C. So C is not alone determining all the attributes. So what we will do, we will try to have the combination of more than one attribute. So we will combine C with A, then we'll combine C with B, we'll combine C with D, and we'll combine C with E. So now we will find out the closure of AC plus, BC plus, CD plus, and CE plus. And whichever find out all the attributes of the particular table, that is what will be your candidate key. Right? So BC and CD both are finding out or determining all the attributes. So we can say BC and CD both are your candidate keys. So this is the second example. Just go through the example once, you will be able to understand. No need to revise this. So clear with this, everyone? Clear with how to find out the candidate keys? Yes or no? Clear, everyone? Guys, clear? Okay. So next is decomposition. So can you tell me what do you mean by decomposition? What is the meaning of decomposition? You already know what is the meaning of decomposition. What do you mean by decomposition? Split or black? Yes, very good. So decomposition means we are breaking down a particular table into more than one relations, right? Such that each new relation is a subset, and all the relations, all the splitted relations contains all the tuples. Only two things you have to remember. If you are splitting your table into more than one tables, then both the tables or all the tables should contain all the rows somehow. And the second thing, it should contain all the attributes also. That is what the two conditions are. And for decomposition, we are having two types: lossy decomposition and lossless decomposition. So does anyone knows what do you mean by this? What is lossy and what is lossless decomposition? Be quick to answer if you know. What is lossy and what is lossless decomposition? Very good, Parth. We divide a table into more than one relation, and if we perform a join operation on that particular divided or partition tables, and we do not get the original table, that means lossy decomposition. That means you are losing some data, you are losing some rows, right? And lossless means if we divide a table into more than one tables, and if we perform a join on that more than one tables, and then we get the original table, that is what we call it as lossless decomposition. That means we are not losing any of our data. So clear with the definition, guys? So this is what the example is, right? We have divided the one table which is having a columns as SENO, bell and branch into SENO, bell, branch and bell, branch, right? SENO, bell and bell, branch. So if we perform the join operation on these two tables, right, we are not getting the original table. So that is why it is known as lossy decomposition. And lossless means we are dividing again a table into two tables, and if we perform the join operation, we are getting the original table. So we are not losing any data. So this is what lossy and lossless decomposition mean. Any doubts? Anyone in this? A very simple and a very clear definition. Any doubts? Anyone? Lossy means you are losing the data after dividing a table into two or more than two tables. And lossless means you are not losing any data after dividing a table into two or more tables. Yes, guys, anyone? Any doubts? Right, then move on to the next one, that is database anomalies. Anomalies means problems that you can face. So what is database anomalies? Database anomalies means so you are having some type of problems that you can face while creating a database, while designing a database schema, or let us say where you are managing a database. So the three types of database anomalies are insert anomaly, update anomaly and delete anomaly. That means you can face some problems while inserting the data, while updating the data and while deleting the data. So let's see each of them. What can be the problem while inserting the data? So let us say you are having two different tables and you are having one common table for both of them, and if you want to insert the data of the second table into the first table, then you should have some data in the second table. That means it is having a foreign key reference here. So in the insert anomaly, you can directly say that the insertion of data in one table is totally dependent on the data of the other table. So if you don't have the data in the second table, you cannot insert the data in the first table. So that is what insert anomaly means. Just remember this thing. Insertion of data in one table is dependent on the second table, and if you do not have the records in the second table, then you cannot insert the data or records in the first table. So this is what insert anomaly means. Update anomaly means, is there anyone who can give me the answer? What do you mean by update anomaly? Update anomaly means you want to update some data, right? You want to update some data. So it is quite possible that if your database is not managed in a proper way, then whenever you are executing update command, then it may update only few rows and it may not update the other rows that is required to be updated. So that is what update anomaly means, right? You will not get, or your update will not perform on all the records that is required. It will perform only on the few records. That is what update anomaly means. And delete anomaly means deleting a record of one table may disturb the data or the records of other table. Deleting the record of one table may affect the records of the other table. This is what delete anomaly means. So clear with this, guys? What is database anomalies? Or any doubts? Anyone in database anomalies? Right. So now if you want to try to remove the database anomalies from the your schema, for that we have normalization, or we can say normal forms. It is a process of removing all unwanted and redundant data from the database so that the database can be in a consistent state, or we can improve the database efficiency in terms of storage, scalability and integrity, right? What we will do in normalizations or normal forms, we will try to split up the tables into one or more tables, such that if we use the join to perform, or if we perform a join operations on that splitted tables, we will get the original table. So normal forms or normalization is a process of splitting a table into more than one tables, such that database efficiency, database scalability is maintained, and all the unwanted and redundant data or duplicated data is removed from the database. So that is the main task of normalization. Clear with the definition, guys? What is normalization? Just go through the definition once. If you have any doubts, just tell me. So what are the different normalization forms we have? What are the different normal forms we have for our database schema? Yes, students. Yes, we have 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, BCNF, 4NF and 5NF. So after which state we can assume that our database is consistent. After which normal form we can assume that our database is consistent. Very good, Jwalant. After BCNF. So if your database has reached to BCNF and has been converted to BCNF, then we can say that we have achieved the database consistency. Alright. What is the full form of BCNF? Yes, that is Boyce code normal form. Right. So what do we do in BCNF? Sorry, what do we do in 1NF? Anyone? What do we do in 1NF? Does anyone remember? So let's say in 1NF we try to remove all the multi-valued attributes and split it into more than one tables using a primary key. So in 1NF what we are going to do, whichever attribute is having more than one values, we will try to split them into more than one tables so that our database can be consistent. So you can see here the column called failed is having more than one values. So what we can do is we can create more than one tables just to remove this multi valued attributes. That means we can say that we have to try to create the tables in such a way that each column has only single value, right? So this is what the one normal form is. So this is what the output of one normal form will be. We will split one table into more than one tables such that when we perform the join, we'll get the complete table again. So clear with this, guys? What is one normal form? Make sure you are having only one value in each column. No multiple values are allowed in each columns or attributes. Yeah, so clear with this, guys, everyone? Or any doubts in this, in one normal form or one NF or first normal form? Anyone? Any doubts? Right. Then let's move on to the second normal form. The second normal form says that no non-prime attribute is dependent on the proper subset of any candidate key. That means an attribute that is not the part of any candidate key is known as non-prime attribute. So clearly what you have to remember is, if there is a set of candidate key, right, then that candidate key is determining the other attributes, right? that other attribute should not be directly dependent on that candidate key or super key, you can say. Let's take a very simple example here. You can clearly see that if I have a teacher ID, right, I can directly find out the age, right? And if I have the teacher ID and subject, here teacher ID and subject are known as candidate keys, and the non-prime attribute is known as teacher age. So we can say that this teacher age is directly dependent on this teacher ID, and it is not the part of candidate key. It is not the part of candidate key. So this is not allowed. So you need to group them together, whichever are the dependents and the determinants, right? So what we will do, we will group the determinants and dependents in different tables. So this will be your next probable solution. We will have teacher ID and teacher age in one table. So teacher ID is the determinant and teacher age is dependent. Similarly, we will have teacher ID and subject in other tables. So again, teacher ID is the determinant and subject is the dependent. So we have splitted one table into two different tables, such that we can say that one determinant and one dependent in one table, and one dependent and the one determinant in the other table. So that is how you can create the particular tables. So this is what the second normal form is. No non-prime attribute is dependent on proper subset of candidate key. So this is what second normal form means. This is what second normal form means. Clear, guys? Then comes third normal form. We need to try to remove the transitive dependencies on a super key. Attribute that is not a part of any candidate key is known as non-prime attribute, and we need to try to remove the transitive functional dependency on a non-prime attribute, right? So what you have to do, you have to just assume that if there is a functional dependency from x to y, then what you will do, either x should be a super key or y should be a prime attribute. That means it should be a part of candidate key, right? So let us say this is what our table is, and here our super keys are id, then id name, then id name and zip, then id name and zip and state, and so on. All the combinations of the columns is a super key, and we can say that from this particular table id is our candidate key. id is our candidate key. So now what is non-prime attributes? All the columns other than the id are the non-prime attributes. So what we can say here, id determines zip, zip determines state, city and district. So we can say that id determines district, ultimately state, city and district. So we need to try to remove such type of transitive dependency. We have to try to remove such type of transitive dependency. So what we will do, we will try to split up this particular table where there is no transitive dependency. So here we can say that id, name and zip will be the one table. So id determines name and zip, right? And second table will be having a zip, and zip is going to determine state, city and district. So two different tables, and we have tried to remove all the transitive dependencies from this particular table. So here now from this table we can say that we do not have any transitive dependency, right? Our candidate key was having a transitive dependency here, right? but we have tried to remove that transitive dependency from this candidate key using a zip as a common column in the both the tables. So here candidate key ID can determine name and zip, and here candidate key zip can determine state, city and district. So this is what third normal form is. Clear with this, guys, or any doubts? Clear with this, guys, or any doubts? Yes, students, clear with this? Okay, then moving on to the BCNF. So what is BCNF? BCNF clearly says that if any particular attribute determines any other attribute, then that determinant should be a primary key. So all the attributes on the left hand side of an arrow should be a primary key. That is what BCNF says. So you have to construct your tables in that particular way, right? So you can see here student, subject and faculty, and you are having some functional dependencies, right? So you need to split up the tables in such a way that if you are creating the two tables, each and every determinant should be a primary key. You can see here student and subject determines the subject, but this particular thing you can see here, student subject determines faculty, faculty determines subject, but here faculty is not the primary key. So this cannot be allowed. So you need to split up the tables somehow. So we will split up the tables in such a way that faculty is a primary key in the this particular table on the left hand side, this one, right? And student and faculty both are the primary keys, so there is no issue at all, right? So this is what your BCNF will be. Each and every determinant should be a primary key. Should be a primary key. Just remember this thing. All the attributes that you are using on the left hand side of an arrow should be a primary key. Clear? Right? Clear with this, guys? So multi-valued and 5NF, that is 4NF and 5NF, we do not require. So this is all about your normal forms and unit number 4 revision actually. Right? We are not going for 4th normal form and 5th normal form. That is not required at all. So you can just skip it if you want, even during your theory part while revising this particular chapter for mid-sem, right? So this is all about your normal forms. I have tried my best to just give you the complete revision of this complete chapter. So just go through this complete chapter again, and still if you have any doubts, you can call me and clear your doubts anytime. Right, guys? Everyone? So we